Hello and welcome. Today we are in the Tier 8 German aircraft carrier, the Graf Zeppelin. The voiceover today is Azure Lane's Cleveland, and we're playing a match on the map Neighbors. It is a Tier 7 to 9 match, which means that I am the middle tier ship. I actually think in terms of matchmaking balance, it is the best type of balance with CVs around, where the CV is the middle tier. So a Tier 8 CV in a Tier 7 to 9 match, a Tier 6 CV in a Tier 5 to 7 match, etc. That way there are ships that are actually fairly good against them. Anyway, I made a mistake at the start by launching rocket planes, because Graf Zeppelin rocket planes are actually slower than her torpedo bombers and dive bombers. And the second problem is that usually you don't find a destroyer immediately in ranked battles, or random battles, sorry. I mean, you might, but you don't always. This time the Östergötland had her anti-air turned on, which made it fairly easy to find the Östergötland. However, the downside is of course that the Östergötland has very good anti-air, which made that kind of a drop very, I guess, dangerous, because that might not have worked out for me at all. I might have just lost all of my planes if they had, I don't know, one other ship there that had anti-air. So now I'm gonna use torpedo bombers. As you can see, the torpedo bombers are literally faster than the rocket planes, and this is much better for spotting the enemy. And after all, the main thing CV has to do is spot the enemy. They are the ones that can show where the enemy is, so that your teammates can use things like islands, cover, etc, etc, or to simply position themselves better to fight them. The second, obviously, thing that they should do is find the destroyers and then make it difficult for the destroyers to do anything. But here I have torpedo bombers, so I can't exactly attack an Akizuki or apparently this Akatsuki. Kinda surprisingly many destroyers. I've found 3 out of the 4. But I'm going after this Colorado instead with my torpedo bombers. Now you might be wondering, why did I drop my torpedo bombers into the water earlier? That's because I want to save some of my planes. I am very unlikely to be able to do multiple attacks on a ship at this stage of the game, because ships are kinda closely together. Which means that I'm only able to do one attack. So I might as well send 3 torpedo bombers back right at the start when they launch off of the CV, because I'm not going to need them anyway, because I jump back to the CV and launch new planes. So this time I'm going with rocket planes, because, well, I found 3 destroyers. I might as well go and try to fight one of them. It's going to be the Akatsuki, mostly because the Akizuki is in a smoke screen, and the Akizuki actually has, you know, anti-air, unlike the Akatsuki. So the plan is to go after the Akatsuki and try to do one drop on her. Usually on a destroyer you actually don't mind having multiple drops to have many planes. However, this time if you look at the minimap, there's Dmitry Donskoy and the Tallinn that are behind the Akatsuki, or at least close by. On top of that there's potentially the Colorado, so if we have multiple ships anti-air there, I'm only going to be able to do one drop anyway, so I might as well send the rocket planes back immediately. And I guess this kinda complicates things. It's very difficult to attack an Akatsuki that's already dead. Very well done by our destroyers. They torped the enemy Akizuki and the enemy Akatsuki. So now they have the Östergötland and one more destroyer that we have not found yet. So I decide instead I'm gonna go after the Leon that I can actually see and know where she is. Dodge some of the flak by flying through it in a way that dodges it. Aw, I was hoping for a what the hell? The CV actually attacked me? Why? That's a terrible idea. Anyway, let's go with dive bombers, mostly because I haven't actually used them yet. Maybe we can work something out. I haven't played CVs too much recently, so, you know, I'm still kinda rusty. Some of my decision making and the actual way I do things aren't the greatest, but I'll still try. I think I should be able to get citadels on a Leon, but with these dive bombers it's always up to RNG whether you can get anything done or not. So it's hard to tell whether it'll work. Mostly because the drop circle is so big, so The bombs can just fall to the sides of the ship just like this. So even if I could or couldn't citadel here, just the fact that the bombs fell to the sides of the ship, I probably wouldn't have been, you know, they missed the citadel is the point. So let's try again. Although I think this time it's only, yeah, it's only gonna be one plane. Come on. Yeah, and RNG said no. Again. So let's use something slightly less RNG based, which is the Torpedo Bombers. So anyway, attacking an enemy CV is actually a bad idea early on. Because you're spending an attack that you could use to attack some surface fighting ship, right? You're spending that attack on attacking the enemy CV. This doesn't actually affect the combat worthiness of the enemy CV at all, because the enemy CV doesn't need HP to actually go and do drops with their planes. If the CV had 1 HP, it didn't matter, they can still send out their planes, right? So you need to be able to sink them at some point, otherwise it's basically a wasted attack. I think I might have led a bit too much on that one. Anyway, I use a heal so that I don't lose the planes and I can do a second attack. Yeah, I did lead slightly too much. One of the torpedoes passed in front of the Leon. But, you know, it'll be fine. Worryingly, we've lost 3 destroyers now. The enemy has lost 2, but still. At one point we were 2 destroyers up, now we're 1 behind. But I do think this Leon is very, very overextended and is going to pay the price soon. I think that's gonna be 2 torpedoes again, unfortunately. The angle just wasn't very good. Never mind, it was only 1. I think the other one was actually too close. So it didn't arm in time. By the way, if you didn't know, at least if I recall correctly, torpedo arming is for planes based on time, not distance. Which means that faster torpedoes will just cover more distance before they arm. Also, the CV is attacking me again, which is surprising. You know, if you attack once or twice, that's fine, it doesn't matter. But if you keep doing that, that can actually add up and you might actually be able to sink a CV. In most games it doesn't matter, but in very long matches, it can absolutely determine a lot from a game. Anyway, I'm not gonna miss on the Musashi, right? Because it's a Musashi. Wow, that actually did a lot of damage. Anyway, I'm gonna start moving slightly forward, mostly because I'm worried about the fact that we have essentially no ships in the middle. We only have the Loyang, and obviously a Loyang isn't going to stop anything. And on the western flank we only have what is that, Tallinn, Lenin and Nagato? Or something along those lines. The enemy has a lot more, let's put it that way. Just the fact that they have a Musashi on that flank, it probably means that they're going to win it. So what we should do is we should try to find the other ships. That is, the surface ships on our team should try to deal with the surface ships on the enemy team. Now, we've lost track of the Östergötland, which is kind of worrying considering the fact that our Georgia is out there alone, basically. So the Östergötland could potentially be harassing her, which I really should go and try to help her with rocket planes. But I don't know where the Östergötland is. I don't know when the last time she was spotted was. So it's kind of hard for me to go out there to try to find her because I don't have any indications on it. But I'm still going to try with rocket planes. I'm probably going to try to find the Yugumo that I suspect is going to be somewhere between the Shokaku and the Georgia. Because, you know, a destroyer is probably going to just run away and try to position themselves in a way where the enemy battleship is advancing towards them, and then do a useful torpedo drop. However, the Östergötland is going to be a mystery. Hopefully she still has her anti-Aerroon, so that we can find her easily. But anyway, the enemy ships on the western flank, at the A-cap and whatnot, those actually don't matter as much anymore. They're not actively fighting us quite as much as the other ships that are still more towards the middle. And map positioning wise, I think we're actually in a decent spot. I mean, sure, we're behind in ships, right? It's 6 ships versus what? 8? But in terms of map positioning, I think we're in a good spot, because we can probably take the B-cap. And then all we have to do is hold on to the B and C caps, and eventually we should win. By the way, as you can see, I actually installed some mods, especially the one that tells me which team is going to win based on points. It's really, really useful. Especially when you're doing right... Wait, what? I can hear torpedo sounds. I think I'm being torped right now. That is not good. I guess we found the Östergötland, huh? I mean, she had to be somewhere. Oh! I guess, yeah, we did absolutely find the Östergötland. That means full speed, we're turning, and we're gonna run. Now, the good thing is, I just took torpedoes, which means that she probably doesn't have torps yet. She might, but probably doesn't. My hope is that she doesn't. And I'm gonna turn to bring as many secondaries to bear as possible, because she's so close that she's gonna get punished really hard. Look at that damage. Yeah, you really shouldn't come try to challenge a Graf Zeppelin into a gun duel at close range. It's not gonna work out well for you. The only way you can approach a Graf Zeppelin as a destroyer is if you have a disgusting amount of HP, or you approach from the bow or stern. If the Graf Zeppelin shoves you her side and fires the secondaries, you're gonna get crushed. At medium and long range, these are the most accurate secondaries in the game, and they have a disgusting amount of damage output. Also, apparently the destroyer thinks I'm a good cheat, so I guess that's a compliment, right? But, you know, speaking more seriously, the player probably doesn't know that Graf Zeppelin has these amazing secondaries. I'm gonna drop on the Iowa. I'm gonna do a long range drop, mostly because I don't want to try to reposition here, and I just want the Iowa to have the opportunity to keep sailing forward to sail into the torpedoes. The fighter plane, just to keep the Yugamos spotted, and perhaps maybe the enemy CV runs into them, but nope, the planes are already gone. I guess that fighter plane drop was kind of pointless, but hey, heat of the moment type decision. I guess maybe going slightly closer actually makes sense. Too bad you can't queue up movement commands with shift anymore. But hey, now it's, what is this, 6 versus 6? We're not as far behind anymore. Although, to be honest, if that Östergötland had had her torps available or just played slightly better, I think the enemy would have just won the game there. Because we would have lost our CV, and at that point having a CV versus not having a CV tends to make the difference. I'd like to say tends to make the difference, but maybe it wouldn't have, because look at that Iowa and the Georgia. They are in a position to be able to delete the enemy CV soon. She won't have enough map to run away from. Which means that maybe it would have just been equal. But anyway, I'm gonna try to find the Yugumo and try to take her out so that my battleships can push in peace. Okay, the Yugumo got spotted. Because she's dumb, I guess? This means I'm probably not gonna be able to drop on her. I'll still try, but yeah. Didn't really work, so I'm gonna dump some planes. I'm gonna drop a fighter on my Iowa, because obviously the CV is right here. This will hopefully help my battleship. I'm gonna dump some more planes, and then I'm gonna attack the Shokaku with two flights. Although I think I might have just flown into enemy fighters myself. Nope, never mind. I think I'm okay. This is not gonna go well. I don't have enough boost to try to dodge these flak bubbles accurately. Come on! Nope, the fighter engaged before that. Yeah, I should have waited a few more seconds to at least have the extra boost available on R, but sadly I didn't. So, time to go find the beached Dmitry Donskoy with my... or Musashi, either or, with my dive bombers, but honestly, I don't expect too much out of them. They're kind of difficult to use, and on top of that, the RNG can really screw you over, because you only drop 2 bombs, and, well, if they hit the wrong places, as in RNG puts them in the wrong spots, not much you can do about it. So when you drop on a cruiser, you want to drop fairly low, as in you want to have your planes be somewhat low, not like directly above. Like what I did just now can work, but often ends up with over penetrations. What you want to do is for the planes to get somewhat close to the surface, that way the bombs will hit the ship at an angle, hopefully at an angle that won't ricochet. But still, at an angle this means that they're less likely to overpen. And you can get your citadels like that. Come on, one bomb! Something like this. Except, you know, actually hit the target. So, because dive bombers apparently don't want to work right now due to RNG, I'm gonna go try to use my torpedo bombers instead, especially since the Donskoy seems to either be stuck or... I don't know why she's beached like that, but the fact is she is. So I'm gonna keep all of my planes, 2 drops from both sides, and hopefully be able to take her out. Or at least get her low enough that somebody else will take her out. The battleships dealt with PCV, excellent. And I think this means the game is in the bag. We're gonna win by points in 3 minutes and 20 seconds, the game ends in 3 minutes and 40 seconds, and there's nothing that can potentially threaten me, so we pretty much won the game. Even if all of our ships go down here, I'm still alive, so we're gonna be good. Oh! Talon and the Donskoy both got punished hard, which means that it's just the Musashi left. I was thinking of just YOLOing the enemy. After all, it's only one battleship, right? We have 2 battleships and the CV. There's no way the Musashi can deal with all of them. Oh wait, the Musashi isn't going forward. This drop is gonna miss miserably too. Oh no, she is going forward, but very slowly. I'm gonna use torpedo bombers again, mostly because she launched her plane, and I would like to be able to trigger the fighter plane on the Musashi. You know, I'm only going to do 1 drop because the fighter plane is gonna latch on, and then I would have to essentially go back with new planes anyway. So I might as well try to use the torpedo bombers who only have 1 flight anyway. Although maybe the AA of the Sinop will actually be able to deal with the Musashi. Speaking of mods, I installed the mod that shows damage caused to ships, right? You can see it in the top right, left corner. And I think it's a really good idea. I don't think it's accurate though, because damage there doesn't really add up to the damage in the top right corner, right? Also, the Musashi actually did delete our Georgia. Maybe, you know, I shouldn't try to sail closer in my CV, because that Sinop is... Maybe she can ram, but maybe she can't. If she can't ram the Musashi down, maybe the Musashi will simply, you know, citadel her or something. Who knows what kind of crazy thing can happen. Come on, bombs. Yes. Wide ships are good targets for this, for these bombers, mostly because they can actually land. Okay, I think Sinop is fine. Yeah, Sinop is gonna be able to ram. Come on, 1 more drop. Never mind, I guess I didn't make it. But damn, this is a nice shot. Looks really good. Perfect ending shot too. So, yeah, my damage wasn't the greatest. I only sank the 1 Östergötland that decided to donate her ship to me. But hey, 135k damage in a tier 9 game, I think it's good enough. I mean, 23 torpedoes is actually pretty damn good. Only 4 floodings though, but still. It's probably good enough. Only 4 dive bomber hits. I really need to play CVs more. I really haven't played them enough recently. I'm really kinda rusty on many things. But at least I can dodge flak, huh? So let's take a look at the XP. 2100 base XP, I think that's good enough, but damn. Sinop got 2300. She actually sank the most ships as well. Well done! In the bottom tier battleship even. But honestly, that Musashi also deserves a compliment, considering she got 1700 base XP on a loss. So the Estayetlan got hit by 20 secondary battery hits in that short amount of time, and they did 7k damage. Don't approach a CV if you don't know what you're doing. As a destroyer, especially a Graf Zeppelin, just don't approach her in a DD. It's generally a bad idea. So let's take a look at the upgrades and commander skills. So I go for air supremacy, then plane speed, improved fight engines, then survivability expert, sight stabilization, aircraft armor, then concealment expert. Then I go for improved engine boost and the last gasp skill. Usually on CVs you don't have to take the last two, you could take Adrenaline Rush instead. I don't know which one is better, I usually go for this setup. And in terms of upgrades, obviously you want your aircraft to restore faster. Then I go for Torpedo Bomber HP, mostly because Torpedo Bombers on this ship are very good. The second point is that Torpedo Bombers have a heal, and the more HP the planes have, I believe the heal is bigger, so I think Torpedo Bombers make the most sense. Then I go for secondaries. Usually I go for attack aircraft modification, but because this ship has such great secondaries, increasing secondary range is actually quite useful as well. I mean, we just saw in this game just how effective these secondaries can be. With them you have 7.9 kilometer range, then aircraft engines, and in the first slot I have damage control for some reason, but I really should have had air groups modification. Usually I do, but I guess I must have played some secondary memes earlier, and that's why I just had damage control. With this, damage control lasts for 60 seconds. With it, I mean 40% extra, that would be like 84 seconds. Well, anyways, it was a pretty damn good game. I haven't enjoyed playing CVs this much in a while. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I would like to thank the patrons on Patreon. Thank you very much for your continued support. And I hope I'll see you guys next time.